Hello everyone, I am Dr. Puravi Devi on behalf of Department of Mathematics and Statistics. On behalf of Department of Mathematics and Statistics, I and my colleague Dr. Golaghat welcome you all to today's webinar titled Re-emergence of Liberal Education, a focal point in NEP 2020, organized by Department of Mathematics and Statistics in collaboration with Internal Quality Assurance Cell of the college. The liberal learning system is a higher education model which focuses on teaching students how to think independently. The model rests on the multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary system where a student is given a variety of choices across many streams that enables them to discover their ideas and broaden their horizon and apply their learning in real world scenarios. The National Education Policy 2020 will hopefully help Indian institutions to create critical thinkers who can think out of the box. So the theme of today's webinar has been taken on liberal education. We have with us respected principal of our college, Dr. Utpal Sharma sir. I would like to invite sir to formally inaugurate the webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Puravi. Good afternoon to all. Honorable Research Person, Professor Alak Buragohain sir, our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Dotto, organizers, Dr. Puravi Devi, and Dr. Golaghat, and esteemed participants. It's my privilege to be a part of this webinar. I convey my warm regards to Professor Buragohain sir. At present, he is the chairperson at Royal Global University, Guwahati, and former vice chancellor at Dibrugarh University. I also welcome the esteemed participants. The topic of today's webinar is a very relevant one in the present day context. Education is the backbone of our country or any country. Education is fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. Universal high quality education is the best way forward for developing and maximizing our country's best talents and resources for the good of the individual, the society, the country, and the world. National Education Policy has been sanctioned by our government in July 2020, which is replacing the National Policy on Education 1986 with an inclusive framework focusing on the elementary level of education to higher education in the country for bringing the changes in national education system. It has its objective of making the learning process more efficient by enhancing students' thinking and creative ability. The National Education Policy includes several changes in the school level as well as higher education. The earlier system of education was basically focused on learning and giving results. The students were judged by the marks they attained. This was a unidirectional approach to development, but the new education policy focuses on the relevance of multidisciplinary approach. It aims at all-round development of the student. The new education policy visualizes the formation of a new curriculum and structure of education, which will help the students at different stages of learning. The change has to be done in the existing education system in order to make education reach up to all, ranging from urban to rural areas. It will be towards meeting sustainability by fulfillment goal 4, that is SDG 4, quality education. The main motive of this policy is making a child learn along with becoming a skilled one in whatever field they are interested. In this way, the learners are able to figure out their aim and their capabilities. The learners are to be provided with integrated learning, that is, having the knowledge of every discipline. The same is applicable in higher education too. The education policy also lays emphasis on the reformation of teachers' education and training process. The teacher must be at the center of the fundamental reforms in the education system. The new education policy must be helpful to re-establish teachers at all levels as the most respected and essential members of our society, because they truly shape our next generation of citizens. The policy, which is designed to ease the burden of classroom teaching and examination on students, will play an important role in creating the future of the country. Its success, however, lies in uniform and transparent implementation at all levels, with an equitable distribution of resources. This dramatic task can be realized only when there is 100% cooperation and collaboration between the central, state government and Ministry of Education. So, with these few words, I announce that the webinar is inaugurated. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Sir, we are lucky enough. We have senior journalist of Golaghat, Apurva Vallabh Goswami. He joined the webinar. Sir is here itself. Anyway, we have with us coordinator of Internal Quality Assurance Cell of our college, Dr. Pranjal Pratim Datta. I would like to invite sir to deliver the keynote address.
Okay, good evening everyone present in the meeting. It gives me great pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I, on behalf of the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Golaghat Commerce College, extend a very warm welcome to all of you present in this webinar. We are privileged to have with us eminent educationist, Honorable Alak Buragohain sir. I welcome you, sir, to share your knowledge and vast experience with the participants on re-emergence of liberal education in the new education policy 2020. I would give my regards to our respected principal, sir, for encouraging us to conduct this program. My appreciation goes to the head and all the members of mathematics and statistics who made this program a reality. We know the NEP recognizing the need for flexibility in choosing the subjects that the students want to study, choose their own paths in life according to their talent and interest. So implementation of this policy will boost science, technology, engineering and mathematics education in India. The new education policy also recognizes that skills like coding and scientific temper and evidence-based thinking that should be learned by all students to become good, successful, innovative, adaptable, and productive human beings in today's rapidly changing world. It also recommends the reorganizing of higher education institutions into research universities, teaching universities, and degree granting colleges, which mirrors to a large extent the American model of large unitary universities and your liberal arts colleges. So liberal education requires large investments in human capital and resources, which is the reason why American education is expensive. We know the Chief Minister of Assam announced yesterday that the new education policy will be implemented in Assam from 2020. So I hope through this program the honorable resource person will enrich our students, teachers with useful information about new education policy in education sector by casting the light of his vast knowledge. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pranjal. We are fortunate to have with us Professor Alak Buragohain sir as the resource person of today's webinar. Sir, please allow me to speak a few words for you.
Please.
Sir studied at St. Anthony College, Shillong, from where he graduated. He completed his master's degree from Golaghat University, and he joined the Department of Biology and Applied Biology at Imperial College of Science, Technology and Medicine, London, from where he gained his PhD. He has extensive experience in research and teaching over 4 decades. Sir joined Dibrugarh University as the Vice Chancellor in 2013. Earlier, he was the Registrar of Tezpur University, where he was the founder head of Department of Molecular Biology and Biotechnology. He is presently holding the position of Chairperson Academic in the Assam Royal Global University, Guwahati. Thank you, sir, to be the part of today's webinar. Thank you. Sir, over to you, sir.
So I can start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A very good afternoon to all the members present in this webinar today, especially esteemed Principal of Golaghat Commerce College, Dr. Sharma, then Vice Principal, Professor Paresh Soikia, then the IQAC Director, Dr. Pranjal Pratim Datta, my old friend, I would say, Labo Handik from Dibrugarh University, and I can see, I'm so pleased to see Mr. Goswami.
Yeah, Apurva Vallabh Goswami.
Apurva Vallabh Goswami. Bhal paisu dekhi, Goswami. I did not expect. Good. So this is a very, the topic is very important. I have been lecturing all over Assam during the last few months and also outside Assam on the new national education policy. So when I was approached by Dr. Korobi to have some discussion through the IQAC of Golaghat Commerce College, I said I will speak on new national education policy. As he said that a lot has been said and almost many people know about it. I think something else would be very different. Would be good. Then I said one aspect of the new national education policy, which is of central importance to the policy, is liberal art education, which is embedded in the new national education policy. So I would specifically try to highlight upon the basic concept of liberal art education, how it started, what is it, what do you mean by liberal art education, and why is it relevant today, and how do we take it forward within the realm of the national education policy. So this is the broad structure of my topic. I have a few slides, but I speak extempore. I don't go to any structured lectures. But then for the benefit of the students, I understand that some students are also there today. I will go for sharing a few slides, and then I will go on to a very structured mode of lecture. But in between, you are free to talk to me, and I'll be switching over to Assamese as and when necessary. And no one should have any inhibition about raising questions because of the language. You have the liberty when we discuss about liberal education to express your views and points fearlessly and without any inhibition. So this is my initial thing. I will just try to share my slides. Just a minute.
Okay, can you see my slides? Hello?
Yes, sir.
No, the slides are not.
Slides are not visible. Just a minute, just a minute. Huh?
Now, sir, it is coming.
No, no, what actually?
Sir, it is coming. Now, I say, sir.
So this is okay now, huh?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, the first slide is, this is the topic, Re-emergence of Liberal Education, a focal point in the National Education Policy. I think as I have discussed, I have just mentioned that this is a central theme and central component of, key component of the new National Education Policy. But before we begin a discussion on liberal education, let us first of all try to understand what is this new National Education Policy very briefly. And why has it become necessary to have a new national education policy since we had another policy since 1986? I think you are all aware that since India gained independence, we have had a number of education policy after independence. The first notable one was chaired by Pandit Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, 1948. Then after that, in 1952, another one by Professor L. Mudaliar. L. Mudaliar was the Vice Chancellor of, then Vice Chancellor of Madras University, the University of Madras, a very eminent academician. And he was chairing a commission and constituted by the Government of India for especially secondary education and higher education. And after that, the very famous policy recommendation came from Professor G.D. Kothari. That is in 1960s. 1964 it started. 1968 the Government of India accepted the Kothari Commission recommendations. It had far-reaching implications, that policy, and it covered many aspects of higher education and other education, the entire realm of education in India. And it was very important and very prominent. The Kothari Commission recommendation has become a textbook, is a subject matter of textbook. Then after that, we had in 1986 a new education policy which was framed during the prime ministership of late Rajiv Gandhi, and it continued till 2014. 2019, until we accepted this new. The Government of India accepted this new national education policy on July 29, 2019. So it is almost 1 year. 2020 it was accepted, and it is almost 1 year now. It is 1 year after the Government of India accepted the new national education policy. Now the question is, before this new education policy was there, we accepted this. The previous education policy has been there for many years, more than 3 decades after 1986. And in between, in 1992, if you recall, during the prime ministership of Dr. Manmohan Singh, there was another commission. It was not on higher education only. It was not on education per se, but it was named as the National Knowledge Commission. And there, the chairperson was the famous technocrat, eminent technocrat, Sam Pitroda. And that had really taken into account the massive emergence of the ICT, information and communication tools, getting into every sphere of human activity during 1990s. And in the light of that, in the context of that, there are certain very important technical solutions, technical suggestions, recommendations were given in the National Knowledge Commission, and it was at that point in time it was realized that that there has been a tremendous growth of knowledge worldwide. New knowledge has started emerging like never before. New research, new findings, and therefore it was realized globally and also in India that we will have to prepare ourselves to be a citizen of a knowledge-based society. Everything will be regulated by, controlled by, influenced by, impacted upon by knowledge. So therefore, it is for preparing the country for a knowledge-based society where our economy will be driven by knowledge, our knowledge-driven economy, our industry will be driven by knowledge. Everything was knowledge-based. So therefore, it was believed that in order to manage this huge body of knowledge, how do you manage this huge body of knowledge? So therefore, the importance of and the relevance of information and computer technology, communication technology, computer technology had become very, very acutely felt, and accordingly, the National Knowledge Commission was started, and it had submitted its recommendation. And there, very important recommendations like forming information highway, connecting all the libraries of the country, which has happened just now, recently. All the libraries of all the higher education institutions of the country are connected. So sitting in Golaghat, if you want to see, you want to look for a book of your importance, of your choice, which is there in Delhi University or in Hyderabad University or any other university or institute in the country, you can access that information highway, and you can get into the network of all libraries put together, National Library networking. There is another term, I forget, but there is a network whereby all library accessions of the country are made available to everyone from within the country, from any part of the country. So these things are happening. Now suddenly again, what was the need? First of all, we have to understand, why do we need a new national education policy, wherein I say that liberal art education has been given a very great significant position. So there are 3-4 things one has to appreciate before we try to go into the nitty-gritties of what is there, what are the recommendations and policy directives that are there in the new national education policy. The first, as I have said, that there has been tremendous explosion of knowledge during the last few decades. Every day, every minute, new knowledge is generated and published in one journal and another journal. There are lakhs and lakhs of journals, scientific journals, research journals, and new knowledge is emerging. Secondly, on the basis of this new knowledge, new technology is also emerging. Very powerful technology has emerged, and we all know that our industry, our economy is directly driven by technology that we have. The more powerful the technology we have, the more powerful our industry is, and the stronger our industry is, the economy will be accordingly rich and strong. So therefore, these are all interconnected things. And simultaneously, what is happening with all these technologies coming in, we find that the whole world has become very small, and so much so that we call the whole world as a global village now, and the whole process is known as the globalization. So no place is geographic distance does not matter today, because you were in Golaghat, I am here, and we are connected in a second. We can communicate, we can talk, we can interact. So geography has become a little irrelevant now, while on the strength of technology, and the whole world has become very small. And otherwise also, physical physical distance also has become less significant because of the fact that we have very fast mode of transport. Very fast mode of transport. You can travel any point in time from anywhere in the world to any other place, the remotest place, and you can 24 hours. You can really go from one end of the world to the other end of the world. So that way also, geography has become rather reduced in its scale. So our people are migrating, our people are moving around, people are walking in different parts of the world, and there is a necessity that we prepare ourselves to be a global citizen besides being a citizen of our own country. Because when we talk about citizenship and global citizenship, we have to be prepared about many things, which I will discuss in my course of presentation today. So globalization is another important aspect that we have to look at and prepare our younger generation, future generation, to cope with the process of globalization. We like it or not, globalization is a phenomenon. It has come, it will come, and it will be there. I mean, you cannot stop it. Then the technology part, as I have seen, that it has got tremendous power, because human civilization, if you look at the history of human civilization is driven by industry, and they're driven by technology-driven industry. When earlier it was a very quiet life, people were largely agriculture-based, what we call as the agrarian society, before 19th century. And in the middle of the 19th century, around 1830, actually the preparation started much before, during late 1700 and all that. People started thinking about different things, new innovations in science. And then by 1830, 1840, it was realized that with the power of the steam, that is the water, when you heat, it becomes steam, and with the help of the steam, you can run engines. And many innovations came in during that process. Many small machines were developed which can be run with the steam engines, and soon electricity was also invented. Though the basis of electromagnetism was there in 1700, but at that point in time it was a intellectual curiosity, nothing more than that. But then it has become a very practical technology by within 100 years, by 1840, 1850. So therefore, with electricity coming in, a lot of changes have happened. And before that, with the invention of the steam engines, the most of the things that agrarian society people who were agricultural largely, and in England largely, mainly, the industry was, cottage industry, like, they were preparing textiles from cotton, from wools, from the sheep, and therefore the small machines came. And rather than being made in the in the cottages, small cottage industry, they have become mass. They have been transformed into mass production centers. Factories have started coming in, and the whole fabric of the agrarian society was transformed from agricultural society, agrarian society, to industrial society. So that was the impact of the first technology-driven industry, and which is described as a revolution, industrial revolution of the 19th century. And there are two parts to it. The first part, steam-driven, which is referred to as industry 1.0, industry 1.0. That is the industry 1.0, the first stage of industrial revolution, driven largely by steam engine and subsequently by the electricity, and which is termed as industry 2.0, because with electricity coming in, transportation, locomotion, transformation has become very, very easy and very powerful. Roads were built, locomotive engines were formed, coal has become a very major source of energy, and locomotive engines, that was, railways were invented, railway lines were developed, travel became faster. Soon after, aeroplanes were discovered, invented. Then simultaneously, very important inventions took place, like the telegraph, like the telephone, like the television, radio. First of all, radio. So all these inventions in science and technology had tremendous effect in the lives of the people, and and had a big impact on industry, ushering in what they call as the second stage of industrial revolution, which is referred to as Industry 2.0. 1.0 was steam-based, and soon after 40 years, 50 years of steam engine-based industrial activities, we found coming of electricity, telecommunication, and all that, and that really transformed the whole world. And the world has become again a little smaller than it was before. And with industrial revolution, not only industrial production of goods and services have increased many order of magnitude, but also simultaneously there are many other things have happened to the lives, the polity, and the society of the world. We have seen the rise of colonialism. We have seen the beginning of exploitation. We have seen the violations of human rights. We have seen the beginning of slavery. So many things have happened. So the entire polity, the society was transformed by a few innovations, inventions, which has triggered new technology, and this new technology has really given a boost to the industry. So you see how knowledge has got impact on the society. Knowledge can tremendously affect the society. It was then, and it is now, and it will be in the future. So knowledge is very important. So now after Industry 3.0, with the electricity, telecommunication, etc., beginning from mid-19th century, we were not there. We did not witness these first three stages of industrial development: Industry 1.0, Industry 2.0, Industry 3.0. Now we are facing the next stage of industrial revolution, which is very, very famously called as the Industry 4.0. What is Industry 4.0? But before that, Industry 3.0, of course. Industry 2.0, we said, with radio communication, telecommunication, electricity, and all that. But then 1970, during our lifetime, in 1970s, another development in science and technology and in the realm of knowledge had taken place, and that was the invention of computers, and simultaneously information and computer technology. That had transformed the way we do our things, the way we conduct our lives. The coming of the computers and the further evolution of the computer technologies had really transformed the electronics, the solid state physics. All these have tremendously contributed to the development, emergence of new tools, new technology. See, 2001, 2002, we had no idea about mobile telephones. Now you see how mobile telephone has become have become an integral part of our life, and such a powerful part of our life. So, and it is, and you just try to take note of the fact how soon the version of your mobile phone becomes obsolete. New versions come. Computers, new versions come. Televisions, new versions come, making the older one, the present one, obsolete. So technology is developing very fast. Technology has become very fast and very powerful, and so much so that now we have created what we call as artificial intelligence. And what is artificial intelligence? It is actually not artificial intelligence. It is absolutely human-created synthetic intelligence. Earlier, we used to process with our cognitive power in the brain, our intelligence. We used to process the information that we gather through our sensory organs. Like through our eyes, we could see things. A lot of data goes into the brain. We can smell things. A lot of data goes into the brain. We can hear many sounds. We can have different kinds of feelings, touch. So all these immediately the human brain had tremendous power, cognitive power to process this information that we acquire through our sensory perceptions and analyze and take decision. That you perceive, your eyes perceive a color, and immediately the brain cognitive power processing says that it is red, it is green, it is blue. So this kind of decisions or this inferences were brought by the human natural intelligence. But then now what has happened, humans have succeeded in developing such powerful tools like very high resolution camera, satellite camera. Then we have flying robots called the drones, and which are loaded with very sensitive camera, which can not only capture images, but they can also immediately analyze those images with different softwares, and they can tell you immediately what is what. They don't have to wait for your visual analysis, your own brain's cognitive power coming into play. The machine can do it. The machines have been trained to, machine means the computers. The computers have been trained to process data, analyze data, and derive information, and get into conclusions about what is what. And this is called machine learning. We can train machines. And with this, with these learned machines, if I may use the word, we can take our cognitive power has become have increased manifold, and this is the power of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is infinitely powerful than the intelligence of you and me, but it is not synthesis. It is not artificial in that sense. It is through your creation, through our invention, our innovation of different kinds of technologies, tools, and softwares, through mathematics-based programming, leading to different kinds of algorithm and softwares. We have developed that capacity, that tremendous power to process many order of magnitude faster than our brains can do, a single brain can do, on the diverse kinds of data that we have generated. And with the explosion of knowledge, what is happening, a tremendous body of information has emerged, and they are there in the cloud, in the databases, right? And zettabyte, petabyte level of information are sitting there. Now we need power, capacity to process this data, analyze this data, and find out what is what. Transform these information-based data into knowledge. So the artificial intelligence is there. Now the point is, these artificial intelligence, which comprises of machine learning, as I have told you, you can train your computers. You experience it on a daily basis. Your mobile has got an element of artificial intelligence. The moment you type something, 2-3 words, you type, and immediately the next few words come in on the screen. If your sentence is grammatically wrong, it will be labeled green. If your word is spelled incorrectly, it will be labeled red. So machine detects it. So the machine has been loaded with softwares, and it can do the processing the way you can do your processing in your brain. So this is the machine. Your mobile has been trained to learn. There are different softwares through which you can train the computers. Your mobile is nothing but a small computer. Then we have other technologies like Internet of Things. Through remote control, you can really transmit these artificial intelligence derived inferences and get things done from remote locations. And helping this is another area called the robotics, mechatronics, mechanical engineering plus electronics joined together, combined together. So these are the new technologies coming in with tremendous possibilities, and then our whole economy will change, our whole industry will change with application of these artificial intelligence, all these accessory technologies that I have just mentioned. Huge data analysis, that capacity is with us, data analytics. So therefore, there is a necessity that our students, our new generation is prepared to take the many opportunities that would be coming their way in the new industries, in the new economy, in the wake of these powerful knowledge-based technologies. So are we ready? Is India ready for that? So therefore, it has become necessary that we take a look at our education policy and bring about necessary changes. This is another reason. And finally, The most important reason cited in justification of new national education policy very correctly is that India is one of the oldest center of knowledge in the world. Civilizationally, we are the oldest. The Vedic knowledge system dates back to thousands of years, when there was no other civilization in the world. Our people knew many things. That is a tremendous body of human knowledge and wisdom we have now. And at that point in time, the rest of the world looked upon India as a leader. So therefore, India has to regain and restore our position in the world as a world leader in education. What is termed as, we were Vishwaguru, and we have to regain our policy as a Vishwaguru. So this is another policy component, that our education will be such that we enable our students, younger generation, to appreciate and understand and take up what is there in our own traditional knowledge system, validate them scientifically, and take the new knowledge and take it forward. So these are the positive things which necessitated that we take a look at the new national education policy. And at the same time, there is also certain other things, very alarming things to be taken into account, like we have celebrated 75th Independence Day this August, about 15 days back. Not even 15 days back, 10 days back. Now, what is happening is this: 75 years after independence, this country has the capacity to send only 20 or 22% of people who are supposed to go to the schools and colleges and universities to access education, because it is reflected in the gross enrollment ratio. The gross enrollment ratio is a ratio that reflects of the total population of, say, people between 18 years and 30 years who are supposed to be availing the benefit of education through various institutional mechanisms like school, colleges, and universities. Out of these population, only 22-23% are only availing this. The vast majority of our young people are still deprived of the benefit of higher education. So we have to increase that access. And even if you increase that access by creating new universities, new colleges, new educations, our Indian society is tremendously complex. We have many socio-cultural issues, political issues, which has created tremendous sense of discrimination in terms of rich and poor, discrimination in terms of gender, male and female, discrimination in terms of geographical distance, far away from Delhi, far away from the capitals, rural urban discrimination. So therefore, even if we have the institutional mechanisms to enable access to our students for higher education, we notice that the equity is not there. The discrimination is there. So therefore, depriving many students, many part of the population, being kept away from the realm of higher education. So the new national education policy also addresses these issues of inclusivity and equality access, and so on and so forth. So these are the different perspectives against which the new national education policy has been brought in. There are many things. I will not go into this, but this is the broad framework of the new national education policy. New knowledge at a very fast rate. How do you manage this knowledge? How much do we teach to the students? How do we teach our students this tremendous body of knowledge, increasing body of knowledge? How do we prepare about the technology, new technology, emerging technologies to the students, so that they can avail the opportunities coming in their way? We even do not know what kind of jobs are waiting for them in the future. New opportunities, new productions, new products, new services will be there, which we cannot imagine now. So we have to prepare the mindset of our students differently. Then we have to prepare our students to be a citizen of the whole world, apart from being a citizen of your own nation, because you never know where you will be working and with whom you will be working. I mean, citizen of which country? So you need to have there's a need to develop global citizenry, and for that, what is required is liberal education. Now, what is liberal education? So the other perspectives I have already told, that we do not have equity, we do not have equality, we do not have access, infrastructure, so many things, even 75 years after independence. So therefore, liberal education, what is liberal education? Some people say, I have been discussing it with many of my colleagues, many faculties, many university teachers, college teachers, and other people from the bureaucracy. But unfortunately, not many people I found have a very clear understanding and perception about what liberal education, or rather liberal art education, stands for. And for that, I will take you gradually. But then first of all, let us go to what education that we have generally before going to the liberal art education and its importance. Now, general education, there is a dichotomy in our education system: a general education versus vocational or specialization. Special education. General education is what we have been studying in the colleges as arts, commerce, science, general science, and other vocational education, like these are the professional educations, like medical science, like agriculture, like veterinary science, like engineering, and there are many other branches coming in now. So this dichotomy has been there in the education system. Earlier, this dichotomy was not there as prominently as it is, but with increasing focus on productivity, it has become necessary that at some point in time, with Industrial Revolution 1, 2 coming in, industry 1.0, 2.0, steam engine, electricity, telecommunication I mentioned, and then later on in 1970s, computer science, ICT. These things have opened up large, huge possibilities for production of goods and services based on technologies. So they wanted people, these industries wanted people who are absolutely skilled and educated only with respect to these technologies, specialized technologies, maybe in medicine, maybe in agriculture, maybe in veterinary science, maybe in electronics, maybe in telecommunication. You just name it. So there was just look at the condition of specialization in medicine, in medical science. There is not only specialization, there is super specialization, there are supra specialization, specialization over specialization. So this is because of the fact that we have come to understand our knowledge base has become so large and solid that we can really go into micro level of anything for our understanding, our knowledge, and that created special niche areas called specialization. And there was a dichotomy between the general education and the vocational education. After independence, India started realizing that we need, if you need to develop as a country, as a free country, we need to have a lot of skilled people. We need to have very strong educated people who are very strong in technology, science and engineering. So IITs have been established, which Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru described as the temple of modern India. The temples of modern India. The IITs have come with Soviet support, support of the Great Britain, support of the United States of America, support from the Germany somewhere. So first IIT was Kharagpur IIT, then Kanpur IIT, Delhi IIT. So many IITs have come. Now there are n number of IITs. Earlier it was only hardly 6 or 7 IITs, and they focus only on producing top class, world class technocrats. Now, while technology is very, very important to cater to the needs of the industries, as we have seen in the Industrial Revolution in Europe, and also we have seen that we need highly qualified people immediately. So the demand for education has become increased like anything. So that resulted in what we call as the massification of education due to the labor market demand. So labor market demanded auditors, not only technocrats, auditors, chartered accountants, you just name it. So professional and vocational education has become have become the key or the keys to successful economies. They thought that in order to become a productive, rich, economically rich country, you have to have very strong professional and vocational education, especially in the 21st century. So accordingly, the focus was on specialized education, vocational education, to address these issues of industry, large-scale production. So in the process, what we have missed is this in education. The basic idea of education, the basic objective of education was to develop a model for human development, so that one, through education, one not only acquires enough knowledge and skill that would enable them to have a good livelihood for life. This is objective number one. Enough knowledge and skill on the basis of which, forget about specialization, professional and general. Basic objective of knowledge education was to enable the students acquire knowledge, enough skill, so that with the help of that, a good livelihood is possible. The second objective of education, which is very, very important, and now here comes in liberal education, that not only education system should provide knowledge and skill for the livelihood, but education should also enable the students, the young minds, to imbibe values, ethics, so that they can also have a very good quality life. Jibon aru jibika, জ্ঞান আৰু যিবোৰ কৌশল শিকে তাৰ সহায়ত এটা জীৱিকাৰ বাট ওলাব লাগিব, যাতে সুন্দৰভাৱে খাই থাকিব পাৰে আৰু এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কিছুমান মূল্যবোধ আয়ত্ত কৰিব লাগিব, যাৰ ফলত এটা সুন্দৰ জীৱন যাপন কৰিব পাৰে। Now, I told you, forget about professional education or general education. On these two counts of the basic objectives of education, we have failed miserably. You don't have to look for big evidence for that. You have to go to the websites of the National Employment Exchange, and you see how many unemployed are there, people, young people are there in the country, which means that our education has failed to provide our young people with enough knowledge and skill so that they become employable. Now, in 2008-2009, a very eminent company of the US, I think Price and Cooper or something, I forget the name. They have conducted a survey amongst the computer science graduates of India, and they found that 95 to 98% of the computer science graduates of India in 2009 were not employable by the industries. So much so that companies like Infosys, they have established their own educational centers in Bangalore, so that the recruited graduates for their companies, for their industries, were first of all subjected to again reorientation, training them for 1 or 1.5 years before they can be put into the job. So that means our education system is providing some kind of knowledge which is not relevant now, which is, I won't say obsolete, but they are not relevant to the industry. So we need to look at the kind of knowledge that we are giving to the students, the skill we are giving. The second point is the objective is that with respect to the providing livelihood. It is not only this is just one example of computer science, but if it is true for computer science engineering, it is true for many others. Not many others, all others. Then comes the other objectives. The other objective is the value. how much of value they have been given. Our education system has given to the students. You look at the websites of the National Crime Bureau. The National Crime Bureau, you will see at what rate criminal offences are being committed in the urban cities where qualified people are there, the so-called educated people are there, and you see the rate of not in the National Crime Bureau. You go to the other sites, National Institute of Mental Hygiene, and you see what proportion of the young people are suffering from depression, what proportion, what rate young people are committing suicides, what proportion of students are going for drug addiction. So and what proportion, and look at the huge crimes being committed by people and who are absolutely intelligent people, well educated people, starting with the famous Sektam case, then the recent ones, you know, that Kingfisher man, I forget his name, Vijay Malaya, and there are many others. There are many others who have committed enormous offense, serious criminal offenses for their petty interests, selfish interests, and these indicate that while we have been able to give knowledge and skill to some who have great intelligence, but they have measurably failed in imbibing in acquiring value system, and therefore they committed heinous crimes. So on both counts of general education system, we are a failure. So we have to give a serious thought about it. Now this massification of education will happen, but it is so there is a shift from, as I said, in the approach to education, there is a fundamental shift from our objective of developing a human development model, where people will be having a holistic idea about the world, about the value system, about the knowledge and skill. That human development model has been left by the wayside, and what has replaced it is the human capital development. So the term human capacity or human capital development, human capital development focuses on enabling, giving the young people that kind of knowledge, that kind of skill, which will make them a very productive, economically, industrially productive individual. They will be producing to the industry in the production process, making the country rich. So while we have left by the wayside, as I have said, the human developmental model. Now, human developmental model has been proposed by very famous, very eminent, very widely respected philosophers and educators like John Dewey of 20th century. John Dewey is an American philosopher, educationist, and he had come up with this human developmental model. And he said, and he is often regarded by peers as the 20th century Aristotle, John Dewey. Then even before that, Rousseau in Switzerland, Geneva, they have their own philosophy which have focused and emphasized upon human development for the perspective from the point of view of enhancing, enriching, consolidating the moral and ethical values of human beings. So these are very important parts of education to enable the students to become ethically correct, ethically knowledgeable, ethically sensitive. So these have gone. So therefore, the liberal education, the foundation of the central theme of liberal education is that not only you give knowledge, maybe professional knowledge, skill, doesn't matter, but at the same time, you must not forget that a human being, an individual, through his knowledge and his skill and his which he or she gets through education, must be enabled to examine himself or herself. enable him or her to think independently and critically about what he sees or she sees about the world at large. Enable him or her to develop his or her own worldview, not to be guided, not to be dictated, not to be blinded by others' views. Every individual has the capacity to think. You remember that very famous philosopher of 17th century, his name is René Descartes. René Descartes said, one of the central theme of his philosophy, in one word, René Descartes said, I exist because I can think. I exist because I can think. Much before that, 370, 390 before Christ, Socrates said that an unexamined life is not worth living by any human individual. That was Socrates. So how can you examine your life? He says that unexamined life, if you live an unexamined life, it is worth not living. It is not a life at all. So what is an examine? How can you examine your life? You can examine your life when you can think. And when you can think about the world, about yourself, then you exist. You know, this is what René Descartes said many, many years later. I exist because I can think. And the central focus of liberal education is not. Many people say that liberal education is just about having, the provision in the educational system about multidisciplinary studies. Many people say that liberal education means that the students have the flexibility to study any subject of their choice. But let me tell you, these are also very important components in liberal education. That why you have to provide multidisciplinary subjects for study. The principal has just said that you have to develop, I think Dr. Datta said that it involves, liberal education involves huge infrastructural and capacity building efforts will be required. Because you have to provide so many subjects, so many teachers, so many laboratories, so many books in the libraries, so that a student in the BA level, the graduate level, would be enabled to study so many subjects. But the point is, and if you provide a lot of subjects to be studied by the students during their graduate courses, you have to be flexible also. So now we don't have flexibility. If you want to study honors in physics, the only two other subjects that you can choose is mathematics and chemistry, or physics, mathematics and statistics. So if you want to study bioscience, botany or zoology major, the other combinations would be only restricted to chemistry and zoology, or chemistry or botany. If you take botany or zoology, either of them as your major, so very limited. So you have to become flexible. A student of physics, his basic, fundamental, basic, general, natural inclination is for physics. But then a human mind is endowed with many faculties. I can be interested, and I am capable. My interest reflects my capability. A student's interest in anything, their inclination in anything, is a reflection of their inherent capacity. So we have to identify that interest. We have to identify that inclination and find out that what natural endowment that boy has or the girl has about that particular subject, and we can promote them. It may be physics, but with the physics, I may be also interested in architecture. I may be also interested in music. I also may be interested in sports. And number of, my natural endowment could be there. So I must be provided with a range of opportunities to take out take out the students' inherent capacities, and for that, not only you have to provide multidisciplinary, but also you have to provide what is it called? Flexibility. People can move. So much so that the new education policy says that if a student gets admitted in Dibrugarh University and takes a subject, say in psychology or physics, and he or she finds that one of his special interest subject is not there in the university, but it is there in Kharagpur IIT, or it is there in Golaghat University. He or she is now, according to the new national education policy, would be enabled to register for that course in that university or institute. And even if it is not in any university or institute, it is offered also online through platforms like Swayam. And other MOOCs, NPTEL, any number of courses are available. To register himself or herself in those portals for a particular course in a particular semester, do the course online, write the examination online, earn the credit, and get the credit earned transferred to your parent university so that it can be factored into calculating your CGPA at the end of your course. The results will be declared. So these flexibilities have been brought in through this new national education policy. But the point is that is our emphasis on human capital development, focusing only on the economy, only on the industrial productivity, is enough to make a healthy nation? No, because there are certain other subjects in the humanities, social sciences. These subjects really make you think about the world and the life, human life and polity at large. But the study of physics and chemistry and biology and statistics have got very focused area for critical thinking. These subjects also require critical thinking. The science and engineering subjects. I do not say that these do not provide critical thinking, but humanities and social sciences are so very important because they deal with human lives, human culture, human society, human ethics, human values. And while a student studies these subjects also alongside science and technology and then engineering, professional, vocational subjects, then what happens is that these students studying political science, studying economics, studying philosophy, studying history, they acquire the capacity of independent critical thinking so much. They are enabled at the end of their education a capacity to generate their own ideas, own opinions, own worldview. That is very important for society. That is very important for democracy. Socrates, what we call a Socratic method of learning, which is world famous. Socrates was #1 pedagogist in the world. Socrates never tried to impart education, impart knowledge and skill to his students, whoever came to him. He used to excite and stimulate his students, making them think. And after they were excited, there were debates, there were arguments. And those arguments were nothing but, those arguments are nothing but a process of distillation of your knowledge, a process for distillation of your logic and understanding. And with this distillation of your minds, of your thoughts, you become a better human being because you have your own point of view. You are not dictated by any authority. You are not guided by any other organized ideas. You have your own point of view. And that is very important for the growth of democracy. And democracy is the hallmark of a civilized society. So the Socratic method is basically the center point, or the central point of Socratic method is enabling the students to think, critically think, and come up with independent views so that they can examine their lives. And he said, therefore, unexamined life is not worth living as a human being. So in today's context, in the whole world, we need to restore, we need to contribute to the democratic functioning, democratic polity, democratic cultures of the country and the whole world. And that requires that not only we make our study, enable our students to study only physics and biology, only physics and statistics and chemistry and engineering and those technological things, but at the same time, we must make space for them to study humanities and social science subjects. social science and humanities subjects. Please remember, a few years ago, many American universities, which are America is known as the Mecca of liberal education. And from there, many universities have stopped teaching humanities and social science because people say that they will not get any job. They say people will not get jobs. They have to study technology courses, engineering courses, medical sciences, law, etc., which will give them a job. But job is not the only objective cannot be the only objective of education. There is a tremendous emphasis on employability, how to make your course curriculum employable. That is an emphasis. But having done that, that is important. Jibika is important. Basic objective of two objectives of education is one is livelihood, employability. That is very important, but not at the cost of the other objective, that is acquiring value system. You have to provide opportunities to the students to enable them to think critically, independently, so that they can acquire the values, they can have their own point of view, and so that they can be a very healthy, contributing members, enriching member of the society. Without that, only with technocrats, you will produce only machines. Your wholesome life, your aspiration to become to have a beautiful life, not with riches of material, but with riches of your values, riches of your ideals. Without these, life cannot be rich. Only money and material richness cannot define the richness of a life. So therefore, it is very important that my slides are not moving. But anyway, slides are not required. I will. Can you hear me still? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. I will just stop sharing because I have gone. Because I speak so spontaneously, and I don't want to be distracted by some PowerPoints and all that. I want to completely get focused onto what I say and what I feel I say. So let those slides be kept aside for a while. So this is the foundation of liberal education. I hope you understand why liberal education is important. Liberal education is very important along with our technical subjects, science subjects and all that. It is because science, engineering, professional specialization, skill-based courses will give us the skill for livelihood. But humanities and social science subjects will enable us to think critically about our life, not about the machine, not about the physical phenomenon, not about a biological phenomenon only, but also about our life as a member of a society, of a civilized society. So unless and until we have these capacities developed in the young generation, they will be all mechanical machines. They will be committing crimes and minting money. Right? They will be devoid of empathy, sympathy, commitment to any values, conscience. So therefore, you will be ending in a terrible world. I cannot imagine that world. So therefore, it is high time that the new national education policy has brought in the element of liberal education. Why I say re-emergence? I say it re-emergence because see, it is already there right from Socrates, the first pedagogue, 370 BC, 400 BC. তেতিয়াই কৈছিলে liberal education মানুহে argument কৰিব লাগিব আৰু argument কোৰ পৰা আহিছে তেওঁ বিচাৰ নকৰিছিলে এটা দুখীয়া মানুহৰ পৰা আহিব পাৰে এটা ৰজাৰ পৰা আহিব পাৰে but the value of the man or the woman তেতিয়া মাইকী মানুহক ইমান গুৰুত্ব দিছিলে যিজন মানুহে argumentটো দিছে সেই মানুহজনৰ ভ্যালুটো ডিটাৰমাইন কৰিছিলে on the value of his argument, not the status of his not his status. মই ৰজা নে মই দুখীয়া ভিকহু হেতু মেটাৰ কৰা নাছিলে my argument is perfect. আৰু এই যে for a successful economy and strong industry আমি যে টেকনলজি পঢ়িব লাগে অকল টেকনলজি পঢ়িলে নহব এখিনিও লাগিব critical thinking যেটো humanities and social science দিয়ে হেতু নিদিয়া কাৰণে আমাৰ বহুত গণ্ডগোল হয় কি গণ্ডগোল হয় যেতিয়া board meeting হয় ডাঙৰ even corporate sector business হেৰিবিলাকত meeting বিলাকত যেতিয়া corporate decision লব লাগে Huge corporate decision লব লাগে. The board of directors যিজনে যদি যিজন প্ৰেচিডেন্ট থাকে চেয়াৰমেন থাকে তেওঁ যদি ভয় কৰে তেওঁৰ অথৰিটিটো যদি if the other members are scared of the authority of the chairman or the president of the board and তেওঁ যিহকে কয় তাকে হয় বুলি ক'ব, right? No argument. বুজি পাইছে যে this is wrong, but ভয়তে নকয়, right? That a critical thinking সেই capacity to দিয়ে to become independent, bold, right? নিদিলে কি হ'ব, wrong decision ল'ব আৰু wrong decision হৈ পেলাই ultimately গৈ পেলাই you will please during the course of the meeting you will please your chairman and the president. হয় ভৰ দিছো, yes man, কিন্তু ultimately it will lead to the weakening and collapse of the whole business organization. এইটো এনৰণত হৈছিলে, এনৰন 19 I think 2000ত এনৰন এটা ডাঙৰ এনাৰ্জি কোম্পানী আছিলে আমেৰিকাত, তাত গোটেইবোৰ গণ্ডগোল কাম কৰি আছিলে, কিন্তু এই গণ্ডগোলীয়া কামবিলাক মানুহবিলাকে বুজি পাইছিলে কিন্তু ভয়তে নকৈছিল. The present study indicates, or ultimately the Enron, one of the largest companies in the world, collapsed overnight. Aru anno bahut company hoise. Gotike what I want to say is this: liberal education is not only required for democracy. Liberal education is required for successful business organization, economic enterprises also. Amar university bhalke chalabole hole amar professor bilake jodi vice chancellor jehake koy take jodi hoy bor di thake, yes kori thake, jane je this is bloody blunder. I'm sorry, I used the wrong word. At a beard bhul kotha koi ase, tothapi yes koi thake. This is you are subscribing to the collapse of the weakening of the whole university system, education system. You have to be bold enough to say, sir, I am sorry, this is wrong. It is wrong because of this. Hey, liberty of thought, hey, liberty of expression will come only when you are educated through liberal education. Yeah, otherwise it will not come. You understand my point? Otherwise it will not come, and it will gradually without minus liberal education, institutions will be weakened, your own life will be weakened, your institution will be weakened, your society will be weakened, and the whole country will be weakened, right? Aru eta dangor perspective ase je what is this critical thinking independently you have to see and nijor bisar buddhi bibeshona to anibo lagibo. That is the point, and one has to be creative for that also, right? Aru eibilak kotha nathakile when you have this fundamental spirit of liberal education, that I respect the value of the force of his argument. I do not have any other consideration for respecting anybody, his richness, his authoritative position. Ebilake muk matter no kore, muk matter kore as long as we are in argument over a matter. What matters for me and what should matter for me, both of us, is the strength of the argument. You understand my point? Strength of the argument. When you have that spirit, then you can have that spirit only when you have mutual respect. Unless you have mutual respect, the respect for others, you cannot have that spirit of argument, respecting the argument. My respect koribo lagibo, more student ok my respect koribo lagibo, because he or she may be correct. His or her ideas may be many times better than what even the textbook says. My respect koribo paribo lagibo, moi eta kan dibo lagibo, shunibo lagibo tar kotha. So therefore liberal education or mahatma bahut ase, kintu ei notun education policy কেৱল যদি আমি সুৰসুৰীয়াকে সেই ওপৰে এই আমি যিবোৰ কৈ আছো যে মাল্টি ডিসিপ্লিনাৰী হ'ব লাগিব, বহুত সাবজেক্ট পঢ়িবলৈ দিব লাগিব, ইট ইজ নট কনফাইন্ড টু দ্য লিবাৰ্টি অফ প্ৰভাইডিং অপশ্যনছ ফৰ ষ্টাডিং মোৰ দেন 1 2 3 4 সাবজেক্ট. সেইটো লিবাৰেল এডুকেশ্যনৰ কথা কয়. হয়, লিবাৰেল এডুকেশ্যন যেতিয়া মই যদি ফিজিক্সৰ মানুহ এটাই, মই বায়'লজিৰ মানুহ এটাই যদি মই ফিলচফিও পঢ়িব পাৰোঁ, মোৰ মনটো বহল হৈ যাব না. I will acquire that kind of mindset. হয় নে নহয়? So সেইটোৱে মাহাত্ম্য. আমি we should not dilute the element of liberal education. We teachers especially, we must understand the value of liberal education. আপোনালোকে পঢ়িব এখন 1947তে লিখিছিলে মাৰ্থা নউছবাম বুলি এগৰাকী আমেৰিকান ফিলচফাৰ, মাৰ্থা নউছবাম. মই পঢ়িছোঁ কিতাপখন. এতিয়া 2014ত এখন 1947 চনতে উলিয়াইছিলে তেওঁ. সেইখনৰ কিতাপখনৰ নাম আছিলে নট ফৰ প্ৰফিট, why do we need humanities and social science. তেতিয়াই কৈছিলে মাৰ্থা নউছবামে, why do we need humanities and social science. কিতাপখনৰ নাম আছিলে ডাঙৰ কেপশ্যনটো আছিলে নট ফৰ প্ৰফিট তাতে এইবোৰ কথা কৈছে তাতে জন ডিউইৰ হিউমেন ডেভেলপমেণ্ট মডেলৰ কথা কৈছে তাতে কোৱা হৈছে হিউমেন কেপিটেললৈ কেনেকৈ গুচি আহিলো কেপিটেল মানে আমি এটা when we have shifted from our approach from human developmental model to human capital model એટલે যেতিয়া গুচি আহিলো তেতিয়াই education has become student and education has become commodification of education মই ডিব্ৰুগড় ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিত ভাইচ চেঞ্চেলৰ থাকোঁতে এটা এডিটৰিয়েল লিখিছিলোঁ আমাৰ এখন ডিউ গ্ৰেজুৱেট বুলি ভাল আমি মাহে মাহে উলিয়াইছিলোঁ তাতে মোৰ এডিটৰিয়েলত এইটো আছিলে কমোডিফিকেশ্যন অফ এডুকেশ্যন আমি অবজেক্ট কৰি পেলাইছিলোঁ ল'ৰা ছোৱালীবিলাকক ইণ্ডাষ্ট্ৰিত ৰ মেটেৰিয়েল কৰি দিছোঁ আৰু এখন কিতাপ ধুনীয়া কিতাপ লিখিছিলে মাৰ্ক ৰিডিং তেওঁ কিতাপখনৰ নাম হৈছে দ্য ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিজ ইন ৰুইনছ তাতো এই কমোডিফিকেশ্যন অফ এডুকেশ্যনৰ কথা লিখিছিল আমি কেনেকৈ অবজেক্ট কৰি পেলাইছিলোঁ ল'ৰা ছোৱালীবিলাকক আজিকালি মই তেজপুৰ ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিত এদিন ৰেজিষ্টাৰ থাকোঁতে এদিন এটা ফোন আহিলে দিল্লীৰ পৰা এডমিশ্যনৰ টাইম তো মোক সুধিলে বোলে মোৰ ল'ৰাটোক বিটেক পঢ়াব খুজিছোঁ তাত বিটেক নে MBA পঢ়াব খুজিছোঁ MBA পঢ়াব খুজিছোঁ তাত সুধিলে মই সুধিলোঁ কোৱালিফিকেশ্যন কি কয় মই দেখিলোঁ ভাল তেতিয়া মই বোলো পাব your son will get then he asked me next question which required some time for me to understand what he was talking about তেওঁ মোক সুধিলে कितना मिलेंगे बाद में মই বুজি পোৱা নাই মই মানে कितना मिलेंगे बाद में মানে কি মই হিটো ভাল ল'ৰা হি পঢ়িব পাৰিব কৈছে নহয় আপোনালোকৰ প্লেচমেণ্ট হ'লে তাৰ স্যালাৰি পেকেজ কিমান হ'ব এনুৱেলি so that was the motivation for putting somebody's son or daughter to education do you call it education right so it is a human capital of gusi golu ami capital development so the parent is right he ekon society re manu jot human development no human capital development or gurutto di which will give you more money matters but money doesn't matter so much right so therefore এই বস্তুবিলাক খুব দৰকাৰ আৰু আমাৰ ভাৰতত এইটো এই গোটেই লিবাৰেল এডুকেশ্যন বিলাক আৰম্ভ হৈছিলে মডাৰ্ণ মানে পৃথিৱীত আৰম্ভ হৈছিলে এই নতুন ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিবিলাক যেতিয়া 1100 কিমানত 1100ত আৰম্ভ হৈছিলে ইটালী বলোগনে এইবিলাকত নতুন ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিবিলাক আৰম্ভ হৈছিলে when the new universities became they started with a concept that we will give that kind of subjects to the students which will make them really enlightened educated আৰু সেইকাৰণে তেতিয়াৰ দিনত যিবোৰ ছাবজেক্ট আছিলে লিমিটেড তেতিয়া তিনিটা ছাবজেক্ট প্ৰথমতে উলিয়াইছিলে ট্ৰিভিয়াম এই কিন্তু জানিবই লাগিব এনলাইটেন মানুহ হ'বলৈ হ'লে সি তেতিয়া ভাবিব পাৰে চিন্তা কৰিব পাৰে হি ইজ এন ট্ৰুলি ৱাইজ মেন নট অনলি নলেজেবল সেই ট্ৰিভিয়াম মানে তিনিটা ছাবজেক্ট এটা কয় লজিক এটা ৰেটৰিক আৰু এটা কয় গ্ৰামাৰ লজিক ৰেটৰিক আৰু গ্ৰামাৰ লজিক থাকিব লাগিব কথা ক'ব পাৰিব লাগিব ৰেটৰিক ভালকে স্পষ্টকে লজিকেলি আৰু তাৰ কাৰণে গ্ৰামাৰ জানিব লাগিব ব্যাকৰণ শুদ্ধ হ'ব লাগিব তাৰপিছত আহিলে কোৱাড্ৰিভিয়াম সেই কোৱাড্ৰিভিয়ামত কি আহিলে কলেজত চাৰিটা ছাবজেক্ট আৰু লাগিব এষ্ট্ৰনমি এৰিথমেটিক জিঅ'মেট্ৰি আৰু মিউজিক চাৰিটা এই সাতটা লৈ পেলাই লিবাৰেল এডুকেশ্যন নতুনকৈ আৰম্ভ হৈছিলে নতুন যেতিয়া নিউ ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিজ দ্য মডাৰ্ণ ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিজ কেম 1100 প্লিজ টেক নোট দ্য মডাৰ্ণ European university started in 1100 aru the oldest Indian university which started in 6th century Nalanda it collapsed in 1197 tahator amar he koise university amar khiliji dhongkho kora karone Nalanda heri hoy gol khiliji ahi pele dhongkho kori pelaise ekon university 6th century ta arambho hoisile 1197 ne kimanoleke choli asile Nalanda ki subject padhaisile Nalanda basis was basic adherence to asile tar jibur chinta chorcha hoisile Hindu philosophy and Buddhist philosophy so tar logot bibhinno subject padhaisile right tar agote asile Confucius e kiman 2000 bochor agote padhaisile tate Confucius theory of morality padhaisile kintu basis adherence to asile Confucianism ter philosophy তাৰপিছত আৰু এখন প্ৰাচীন ইউনিভাৰ্চিটি আছে আল আজহাৰ ইউনিভাৰ্চিটি কাইৰোত আছে সেই 1990 কিমানতে আৰম্ভ হৈছিলে আজিলৈকে এখন ইউনিভাৰ্চিটি আছে তাতে আৰম্ভ হৈছিলে এই ফিলচফিবিলাক য'ত মেথমেটিক্স পঢ়ায় জিঅ'মেট্ৰি পঢ়ায় এষ্ট্ৰনমি পঢ়ায় লগতে দ্য বেচিক এডহেৰেঞ্চ আছিলে ইছলামিক লজ চাৰিয়া আৰু Islamic theology, right? কিন্তু সিহঁত broad আছিলে, liberal, right? Or most of the American universities liberal education asile because they believe that unless the liberal values, eto liberalism or price, liberal values, liberty, equality, ebilak jodi education e nidie manok, teti hole ki শিক্ষা দিলা, কেনেকৈ সমাজ হ'ব হেপান, কেনেকৈ সোসাইটি হ'ব, কেনেকৈ পৃথিৱী হ'ব, এগাল বহুত জ্ঞান আছে, বহুত টেকনলজি আছে, কিন্তু যদি তোমাৰ লিবাৰ্টিয়ে নাই, তোমাৰ যদি তোমাৰ ইকুৱেলিটিয়ে নাই, discrimination হৈ আছে, right? The issues of liberty, the issues of discrimination, whatever kind of discrimination, ধনী দুখীয়া, gender, women, men, male, female, এইবিলাক social issues হয় নে নহয়? আমাৰ সোসাইটিখন পিছ পৰি থকাৰ these are the reasons, হয় নে নহয়? কিন্তু এইবোৰ টেকনলজিয়ে সলভ কৰিব নোৱাৰে, এইবোৰ হিউম্যানিটিয়ে সলভ কৰিব, এইবোৰ লিবাৰেল এডুকেশনে সলভ কৰিব পাৰে, যাৰ কাৰণে মানুহে ভাবিব লাগিব, world view থাকিব লাগিব, অকল physics or chemistry deeper understanding and views থাকিলে নহব, through critical thinking. So these are very important issues. আৰু এতিয়া আমেৰিকাত বেছিভাগ লিবাৰেল এডুকেশন আছিলে যদিও লাহে 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 এইবিলাক তাত ডাইলিউট হৈ গৈছে, তাতো কন্ট্ৰোল চলে, তাতো লিবাৰেল এডুকেশনৰ মাহাত্ম্যটো নোহোৱা হৈছে, কেৱল these are all now limited to making available multidisciplinary subjects and the flexibility. The core essence of liberal education is gradually going down. কারণ পৃথিবীর যেটো ওয়ার্ল্ড অর্ডার আহিছে সবকে অথরিটি লাগে, অথরিটি স্ট্রং হবলৈ ধৰিছে। ট্ৰাম্পকতো আমি দেখিলোই, ভাগ্য অকমান ভাল আছিলে কাৰণে সেইবাৰলে বাচি গ'ল, নহলে ট্ৰাম্প was the ultimate authority next to God, তেনেকৈ আহি আছিল আমেৰিকাত। হয়, চাইনাত কি হৈছে, ৰাছিয়াত কি হৈছে, the world order is moving that direction. So আজিৰ প্ৰাসংগিকতাত, মই ভাৰতৰ কথা নকওঁ, আজিৰ প্ৰাসংগিকতাত, আজিৰ পৰিপ্ৰেক্ষিতত ভাৰতৰ নিচিনা দেশত পৃথিৱীত লিবাৰেল এডুকেশনৰ বিৰাট মাহাত্ম্য আছে। And I mean, it's a great element that has been brought into the new national education policy. এই গোটেইবিলাক কথা ভাবি যদি আনিছে, ভাৰত ধন্য। কিন্তু যদি কেৱল আমি যদি কেৱল ইন্টাৰপ্ৰিটেশন টু লিবাৰেল এডুকেশনৰ we limit it to the mere provision of multidisciplinary subject study and with flexibility, no. Right? So সেই কাৰণে মই ক'লো যে মই লিবাৰেল এডুকেশনৰ ওপৰত, আৰু মই বহুত কিবা কিবি কৈ থাকিব পাৰো। লেট মি ষ্টপ। আৰু নতুন কিতাপ যদি পঢ়িবলৈ আছে, মন আছে, মাৰ্থা নজবামৰ কিতাপখনটো পুৰণা, এতিয়া ইউনিভাৰ্চিটি অফ প্ৰিন্সটনে 2014 চনত আকৌ উলিয়াইছে কিতাপখন। তেওঁ য'ত পঢ়াইছিলে মাৰ্থা নজবাম, তেওঁ নাই, এতিয়া ঢুকালে। এতিয়া এজন ভেৰি গ্লেমাৰাছ মানুহ এজন আছে, CNN-ত ওলাই থাকে, কি জাকাৰিয়া, ৰফিক জাকাৰিয়া নে কি জাকাৰিয়া, কিতাপখন মোৰ তাত আছে। তেওঁ অলপতে এখন কিতাপ লিখিছে, ইন ডিফেন্স অফ লিবাৰেল এডুকেশ্যন, সৰু কিতাপ, ইন ডিফেন্স অফ লিবাৰেল এডুকেশ্যন। তেওঁ এটা পাৰ্সপেক্টিভ দিছে কিয় লিবাৰেল এডুকেশ্যন লাগে সায়েন্স এণ্ড টেকনলজিৰ লগতে, সেই কথাটো তেওঁ খুব ধুনীয়াকৈ লিখিছে, সৰু কিতাপ, ইউ কেন ৰিড ইট। চ' এনেকুৱা বহুত কিতাপ আছে। আমি টিচাৰবিলাকে, এডুকেশ্যনবিলাকে অকল ষ্টেটিষ্টিক্স, মেথামেটিক্সৰ মানুহে অকল আমাৰ টপলজি, জিঅ'মেট্ৰি, এলজেব্ৰাতে সোমাই নাথাকি, আমি মানে হিডেন মাৰ্কঅফ মডেলতে হিডেন হৈ নাথাকি, we should come out and we should also study some larger issues of education. লিবাৰেলিজম পঢ়িব লাগিব। মইতো বায়'লজি মানুহ, মইতো এইবিলাক চব পঢ়িছো, আৰম্ভ কৰি দিছো পঢ়িবলৈ, আৰম্ভ কৰিছো আজি ভালেমান বছৰ পৰাই। মই ৰেনি ডিকাৰ্টিছ পঢ়িছো ফিলচফি, তেতিয়াৰ পৰাই মনত আছে। তেওঁ কৈছিলে the famous sentence, I exist because I can think, and if you cannot think, you cannot examine, and if you cannot examine, it's not a life worth living. It is জন্তুৰ জীৱনেই ভাল আছে, এইটো সক্ৰেটিছে কৈছিল। These are all interlinked, right? So মই আজি 3-4জন ডাঙৰ পণ্ডিতৰ ৰেফাৰেন্স দি পেলাই এই গোটেইখিনি কথা ক'লো। এইখিনি কথা মোৰ মনলৈ আহিলে এই মুহূৰ্তে। বাট ইফ ইউ গো এণ্ড ষ্টাডি, আই থিংক ইট ইজ টাইম আমাৰ নিচিনা মানুহবিলাকে এইবিলাকো পঢ়া শুনা কৰিব লাগিব, আৰু তেতিয়া ল'ৰা ছোৱালীৰ মনটো বহল হ'ব লাগিব। নহ'লে দে আৰ অল ৰবটছ, দে আৰ অল মেচিনছ, ৰাইট? গতিকে আমি তাহাঁতক জীৱন আৰু জগতলৈ উলিয়াই আনিব লাগিব। That is the purpose of liberal education study. জীৱন আৰু জগতলৈ উলিয়াই আনিব। Thank you very much. যদি কিবা কোৱেশ্চন আছে, মই বহুত দীঘলকৈ ক'লো নেকি?
ঠিক আছে, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Sharma, Dr. Khoikia, Dr. Datta, Mr. Goswami. অপূৰ্ব বল্লভ গোস্বামী বাহিৰৰ মানুহ আছে আমাৰ
হয় স্যার নিশ্চয় বৰ ভাল লাগিলে স্যার
হয়
মানে বহুত কথা আমি জানিব পাৰিছো আপোনাৰ পৰা বহুত কম সময়ত স্যার আপুনি বহুতখিনি কথা জনাইছে আমাক
মোৰ মনলৈ যিখিনি আহিছে কোৰ কথা কোৰ কনসেপ্ট সেইখিনি কৈছো there are many things বহুত আছে আপোনালোকৰ কলেজত you can start এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ ডিসকাশন ডিবেট ল'ৰা-ছোৱালীৰ মাজত ডিবেট খুব হ'ব লাগে এইবোৰ ইস্যুৰ ওপৰত এটা ক'বলৈ দিব লাগে they should be enabled to speak out independently বন্ধ কৰি দিব নালাগে হেতু যদি প্ৰশ্ন আছে ক'ব পাৰো যদি নাই আমি যাব পাৰো
Sir, I have a question.
Others Gupta, student?
Yes, sir.
Who's talking? Identify yourself.
Yes, sir. Adarsh Gupta, sir.
Adarsh Gupta, you are a student of commerce?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
First of all, thank you, sir, for sharing your views with us.
Go.
Sir, মোৰ এটা কোৱেশ্চন কি আছিল আজি টাইমত যেতিয়া এইটো ইমপ্লিমেন্টেশন হৈছে তেতিয়াতো আমি নিজৰ যেনেকৈ মই স্যাৰ একাউণ্টছ মোৰ মেজৰ সাবজেক্ট তেতিয়া স্যাৰ মই একাউণ্টছত মই যেনেকৈ মোক সায়েন্স ষ্ট্ৰীমত ফিজিক্সও বহুত ভাল লাগিছিল আগত বাট আগতো আমাৰ এনেকুৱা ইমপ্লিমেন্টেশন হোৱা নাছিলে তাৰ কাৰণে আমিতো নোৱাৰিলো একো এক্সট্ৰাকে সাবজেক্ট নিজৰ কোৰত ধৰিবলৈ বাট আজি যদি আমি মানে এতিয়া মই একাউণ্টছৰ লগত ফিজিক্সও লওঁ স্যাৰ extra মোৰ কাৰিকুলাম এক্টিভিটি এক্সট্ৰা সাবজেক্ট হতে তেতিয়া কথা এইটো আছে আজি তো মই এইটো হ্যাপিনেস গেইন কৰিলম কি স্যাৰ মই পঢ়িব পাই আছো কি মোক যি বস্তু ভাল লাগে মই দুইটা ষ্ট্ৰীম পৰা পঢ়িব পাই আছো বাট ইন ফিউচাৰ মই যেতিয়া কিবা অৰ্গানাইজেশ্যন জয়েন কৰিম বা মোৰ একাউন্টেন্ট হিচাপে या সিএ হিচাপে মই পঢ়িব যাম তেতিয়া স্যাৰ যেতিয়া মোক অৰ্গানাইজেশ্যনে ইন্টাৰভিউ কাৰণে মাতিব তেতিয়া মোৰ ৰেজিউমে চাব তেতিয়াতো এটা কথা এতৰ মনত এৰাইজ হ'ব না কি ইটো ফিজিক্সও পঢ়িছে একাউন্টছতো মানে দুইটা সাইডৰ পৰা মিক্সড আছে এহেতিতো এইটো প্ৰিফাৰ কৰিব না কি একাউন্টছ লগত যোনে ফাইনান্সিয়াল মেনেজমেন্ট বা এইচআৰএম লৈছে এহেতক বেছি প্ৰিফাৰ কৰিব কেনে এহেতি both সাইড সাৰ্ভ কৰিব পাৰিব এহেতৰ অৰ্গানাইজেশ্যনত বাট মইতো ফিজিক্স এক্সট্ৰাকে পঢ়িছো মোৰতো ফাইনান্সিয়াল মেনেজমেন্ট মই
I got your answer.
Yes, sir. তেতিয়াতো মোৰ কাৰণে বহুত হেৰি হৈ যাব না বহুতক আগত মোৰ প্ৰিফাৰ কৰিব হেতু অৰ্গানাইজেশ্যনত যদি মই ফিজিক্স সাইডত এচিভ কৰিব নোৱাৰিলো কিবা
আচ্ছা let me tell you my dear friend liberal education is not only for you therefore তোমাৰ যেটো প্ৰশ্ন সুধিছা liberal education is for the employer also a liberal educationer concept to তোমাৰ employer থাকিব লাগিব যে he or she বা that company or industry where you are applying your post and তেওঁলোকে যদি তোমাৰ একাউন্টিং or মানুহ বিচাৰিছে আৰু লগত যদি ফিজিক্স দেখি যায় ভয় খাই পেলাই তো আমাৰ কামত নহা মানুহ আহি গৈছে সেই মাইন্ডসেটটো তেওঁলোকৰ নাথাকিব লাগিব আৰু তেওঁলোকে এই কথাটো জানিব লাগিব তোমাৰ একাউন্টছৰ কথা উলৱাইছা কাৰণে মই কৈছো তোমাৰ একাউন্টছৰ এটা most modern approach to কি জানা নাজানা the modern approach is called the triple bottom line approach তিনটা অকল একাউন্টিং জানিলে নহব ফাইনান্স জানিলে নহব তাত তুমি তোমাৰ সোশ্যাল এসপেক্টস আৰু এনভায়ৰনমেন্টাল এসপেক্টস এই তিনটা এসপেক্ট সোমাই থাকিব লাগিব তোমাৰ ফাইনান্সিং তোমাৰ একাউন্টিংত this is the most modern accounting philosophy triple bottom line বুলি কয় you go to the website and you find out triple bottom line of accounting তাতে তোমাৰ একাউন্টিংৰ ফাইনান্সৰ লগত your social part the ecological environment part থাকিবই লাগিব আৰু everything is connected all are connected আৰু সেই পারসেপশন টু সেই এপ্ৰিসিয়েশন টু লিবাৰেল এডুকেশনে দিব পাৰে তোমাৰ এতিয়া এপ্ৰিসিয়েশন টু তুমি যেটো ভয় কৰিছা তোমাৰ এমপ্লয়াৰে নিদিব it is because of that তেওঁলোকৰ লিবাৰেল এডুকেশন নাই ডেফিসিট আছে কিন্তু লাহে লাহে এটো হ'ব প্লিজ ৰেষ্ট এশিওৰ্ড লাহে লাহে হ'ব
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Anindita D.
Yes. Good evening, sir. I'm Anindita De, Associate Professor and Head Department of English, DR College, Golaghat. Before placing my question, sir, I would like to thank you for enlightening us with your in-depth knowledge on the topic. So, sir, my question is directly on the new education policy. So, when I was reading about this policy, I'm not very aware. I have a very limited, idea about this policy. But I was reading about one of the major flaws of this NEP 2020. And this flaw is the disregard for gender-related issues in the higher education segment. And there is also no mention of the disabled community, nor of the socially underprivileged classes. So, sir, the question is higher education expected to cater to the hegemonic classes alone? So, sir, what is your take on this matter?
I would not agree with you 100%, because, in a policy document, every aspect cannot be specifically pinpointed, like gender, like women, like disability, especially challenged or especially gifted people. But then this is addressed with one term, one word, very powerful, all-encompassing, and that is the word that I have mentioned: equity. No discrimination. Equity. The new education policy is mandated to make education equitable, not only accessible but also equitable. Accessible through increasing the gross enrollment ratio, and equitable through your social, political, cultural mechanisms. Right? So therefore, I do not agree with you. I think now you will not also subscribe to what you said. It is not for hegemonic things. Equity is categorically matched.
Okay.
Yes. Very good.
Yes. Another question,
Yes.
sir. Another doubt in my mind. Again, I've come across that doctoral candidates are required to learn an Indian language along with their research. So any doctoral study should be intensive and should focus on the topic of research. So don't you think studying a new language along with research might put added burden on the scholar?
It is not there. It is not there. Research, there is a major emphasis on research in this new education policy, because some university will be only research minded. They will have very little teaching. Some university will have teaching and research together. And there will be some university which are called as MERU, multidisciplinary education research universities. Focus is on research. But the point is, there is also an emphasis on learning languages in the new education policy. But that doesn't mean that a PhD student is mandatorily supposed to study another language. No, it is nothing like that. But it is, please remember, since you raised the issue, learning a language gives you a tremendous advantage. It's a power. If you go to Germany, if you go to France to do your doctoral research, the first requirement is that first 1 year, 6 months, 1 year, you have to pass you clear your German language proficiency course, French language proficiency course, level 1, level 2, right? And there we are ready to do our foreign language study before we embark upon PhD, doctoral research. Right. Similarly, in our country also, if you are a student of language, English literature or linguistic studies, then obviously it will be of advantage to you if you have a knowledge of some other language. So from where you can bring in the knowledge from on literature from, say, Tamil language or for a French language or German language, the literary things can be incorporated into your domain. So that will be an advantage only. This is by the way. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for clarifying my doubt. Thank you.
Thank you. Goswami, unmute kori lok. Unmute korok.
I have a question.
Oh,
Hello, sir.
hi.
Sir, মই এটা আপোনাক সুধিছো, আপুনি যেটো কলে ভাৰতবৰ্ষৰ
Apratim Nag, we are coming to you. Apratim Nag, I am coming to you next.
Okay, sir.
Apurva Goswami, kok.
হয় না, আপুনি যেটো 6th century কথা কলে, তক্ষশিলা নালন্দাৰ কথা কলে, যেটো ভাৰতবৰ্ষৰ যেটো শিক্ষা ব্যৱস্থা বা যিহেতু ধ্বংস হল 11th centuryতে আসলতে ইংল্যান্ড বা অন্য জায়গাত যেটো বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ৰ কথা কৈছে। কিন্তু আমি মডাৰ্ণ আছিলো, আৰু আমাৰ যদি বুৰঞ্জী চাওঁ, আপুনি ঠিক দ্বিতীয় চন্দ্ৰগুপ্তৰ ফাহিয়ান আহিছিলে, চন্দ্ৰগুপ্তত ইণ্ডিকা পুথি লিখিছিলে মেগাস্থেনিছ, বা আমি যদি কুষাণ বংশৰ হিউৱেন চাং কওঁ, ঠিক একেদৰে আপোনাৰ ইমন বড়োটা আহিছিলে মেৰি মহম্মদ বিন তুগলকৰ টাইমত। গতিকে এই যিটো মই চাইছোঁ, গতিকে আমি ইমান এডভান্স হৈ থকাৰ পিছত পশ্চিমীয়া যিটো আমাৰ ধৰক শিক্ষা ব্যৱস্থা, যিটো আধুনিক ইউৰোপৰ যিটো শিক্ষা ব্যৱস্থাত ইণ্ডিয়াই কিয় ফেৰ মাৰিব নোৱাৰিলে, মানে ইয়াত গেপছটো ক'ত তাৰমানে? যিটো
গেপছটো মোৰ মতে এইটোৱে হ'ল যে আমাৰ যে আমি ইমান বছৰ ব্ৰিটিছৰ তলত আছিলোঁ, ব্ৰিটিছৰ তলত থাকোঁতে আমাৰ এডুকেশ্যন বুলিবলৈ বিশেষ তেতিয়া আমাৰতো কোনো অৰ্গেনাইজ চিষ্টেম নাছিলে। আৰু ব্ৰিটিছে যিটো এডুকেশ্যন দিবলৈ চেষ্টা কৰিছিলে, ডেট ইজ নট ফৰ এডুকেটিং আছ, জাষ্ট ফৰ যেনেকৈ এতিয়া পিছত যেনেকৈ ইণ্ডাষ্ট্ৰীত কাম কৰিবৰ কাৰণে স্কিল মানুহ বিচাৰিছিলে, টেকনিকেলি হেৰি মানে জ্ঞান থকা মানুহ বিচাৰিছিলে ইণ্ডাষ্ট্ৰীৰ কাৰণে। এই ব্ৰিটিছবিলাকক বিচাৰিছিলে ভাল কেৰাণী হ'বৰ কাৰণে ভাল ইংলিছ জনা, ভাল ইংলিছ হিষ্ট্ৰী লিখা, এইবিলাক মানুহ বিচাৰিছিলে। গতিকে আমাৰ ইণ্ডিপেণ্ডেণ্ট ভিউ যিটো লিবাৰেল এডুকেশ্যন ইণ্ডিয়াৰ মানে মেইন হেৰি আছিলে, সেইবিলাক তেওঁলোকে এনকাৰেজ কৰা নাছিলে। আৰু আমাৰো কি হ'ল, যিসকল নতুন আগৰণুৱা শিক্ষা লৈছিলে স্বাধীন ভাৰতৰ আৰম্ভণিতে, উইথ অল ৰেচপেক্ট টু দেম, বেছিভাগেই কি হৈছিলে, লিডাৰবিলাকৰ বাহিৰে বেছিভাগেই কি হৈছিলে, they were carried away by the glamour of the foreign universities of British education system. কিন্তু বুজিয়ে নাপালে যে ব্ৰিটিছ এডুকেশ্যনে ইণ্ডিয়াৰ হাৰ্ম কৰিছে। That is the reason. সেইকাৰণে we were blinded by that. আমাক বহুত দিন অন্ধ কৰি ৰাখিছিলে, অন্ধ অনুসৰণ। কিন্তু এতিয়া সেই বুলি আমি আমাৰ আধুনিক যিটো কণ্টেম্পৰেৰী নলেজ পৃথিৱীত চলি আছে, সেইবিলাকক বাদ দি আমি যদি কেৱল বেদ উপনিষদ লৈ পেলাই মেলি বহি থাকোঁ ন, এগেইন উই আৰ গন। আমি দুইটা ল'ব লাগিব, দুইটাই ল'ব লাগিব। Apratim Nag. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. At the outset, I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks to you for this such an enlightening lecture. I am Apratim Nag, Associate Professor and Head Department of Physics, Gurucharan College, Silchar.
From Silchar?
Yes, sir.
Good, very good.
So actually, I just wanted your opinion on one point. So a few years back, we had much hyped introduction of the choice-based credit system all over the country. Now, before the introduction of the choice-based credit system, at least I was of the notion that would open before the students the option of studying subjects of their choice. But when it was actually introduced, instead of offering more choices, the number of choices got minimized. Because earlier, suppose during our student days, we used to study physics honors along with that mathematics and chemistry. But now, at least in our university, for example, Assam University, now a student with suppose offering physics as honors, he chooses one subject as generic elective, like one path subject. Maybe it may be either mathematics or chemistry or statistics or the other one is additional generic elective, which does not carry weightage in the examination. So practically the students, what they do, they take one path subject. And another point is that though not officially, but even the university authorities also discourage the students from taking AGE because that creates problems in designing the timetable for the examination. Now, with the present infrastructure, if the new education policy is implemented in the true sense of the term, do you feel that the thing that the liberal education that you were talking of, for example, a student willing to take physics along with music is permitted to do so, will it not create problems with the present infrastructure, especially in designing of the timetables for examination and so on? Many other problems will be there. So what is your take on that?
See, as I said, there are two parts. One is related to offering as many subjects so that students' natural inherent aspirations and inclinations and talents can be fulfilled by offering different subjects. Now, CBCS in the truest sense in its philosophy was basically for that, choice-based credit system that came in the 1986 education reform. Right, this is also known as the cafeteria system. You go to a cafeteria and have your pick, whatever subject you like. But that because of the limitations of human resource and infrastructure, as you rightly say, these things have become curtailed. And also on the top of it, related to this, these certain other considerations became overwhelming. Like, you were bogged down with the issue of developing a routine classrooms rather than giving them opportunities to study. Do you understand my point? The overwhelming thing was providing choices, as many. But the overwhelming concern has become how to make your perfect 9 to 4 class routine. So it fizzled out the whole thing. Also, infrastructure issue, human resource issues are there, tremendous issues. But, you know, with this flexibility as it is being prescribed in the new national education policy, that a student who desires to have a study of his or her choice, not available in his parents' study in a university or in parents' institute, can go online to Swayam and can go to register in other universities. Academic Bank of Credit is there, but these are all very lofty ideas. Very lofty ideas, and the whole thing will become possible only when these are put in place. Academic Bank of Credit is nothing but a technological thing. It will be a database in the cloud where you can access, you can deposit, you can register your credits, and so on and so forth. Now, but the point is, the legal statutory provisions in the university for such credit transfers, some kind of parity with the syllabus, from migrating from one university to the another university. At the same time, you cannot have uniform, just like genes, you cannot have the same kind of syllabus throughout the country. Some contextualization is very, very important. Those things have to be taken into account. So these are issues we have to break our head. But while breaking our head over these nitty-gritties, we must not lose sight of the basic philosophy of liberal education. In your physics class, without any opportunity, you can practice it. You can make your students think. You can make your things when you're talking about nuclears, atomic nuclears, nuclear fission, nuclear fusion. You can relate it to the potential of those nuclear weapons, nuclear bombs, and you can directly relate it to what will be the consequence to human society, human life, and the authority involved in using those having the tremendous authority of using those nuclear weapons, like Pakistan has that. Right now, Taliban has come and Pakistan is supporting them. Then the rest of the world is at least some countries are becoming fearful that they have a nuclear power behind them. Right, a political issue is coming. Right, it is basically physics empowered thing, nuclear power. But then you can make your students enlightened and open their eyes, direct their eyes to these issues of the world as well, and they will have their own opinions, and that is the part of liberal education. Right, slowly, not everything is taught. Values you cannot taught within a syllabus. Human values, morality you cannot teach within a syllabus, a semester system. If I do that, there is a likelihood that one topper, gold medalist in ethics in that paper becomes #1 scamster in his professional life. He got his mark and he forgot it. He got first 100 out of 100 in ethics paper. Doesn't make him an ethical man. You understand my point? Yes. So therefore, these are the issues we have to internalize first of all and try to relate to the students. Please, we are not supposed to be givers of knowledge and education now. We are supposed to be now identifier of talents amongst the students and showing them the path forward. Right. Our role is not to give them syllabus wise, everything and finishing in semester. Semester was a disaster in this country because we were not trained. Continuous comprehensive evaluation is a disaster. It made our life miserable and students' life miserable, and the whole education system a fiasco in our country because we do not know how to go for formative assessment. Right. So we have to train ourselves. An institutional mechanism has to be there, and the success of this new education policy has got two broad pillars. One is, if the government gives all infrastructure, if the government gives all human resource, the success and failure will depend on our shoulders. And and we can succeed only when we have deep understanding of these issues: pedagogy, liberal education, mind of the students, so many things. Right? Teaching learning is not a mechanical thing. It cannot be specified by syllabus. It cannot be specified by textbooks. It cannot be specified by what kind of questions will be set in the examinations. Right? It's a kind of a large frame of life to which first as a teacher I can relate, And then I can help my students to relate. And then bring in syllabus, then bring in textbooks, then bring in questions. These are down the line. But first is first. I must have my worldview clear, and I must relate it to my students. And then try to relate it to the syllabus and whatever. Right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any question?
See, I am. If I give my example, I am basically a biologist. But with biology, for whatever reason, all my life, right from my graduation days, even before that, I have been reading a lot of literature. I have been reading a lot of history, reading, I won't say a lot of economics, but quite a bit of economics, sociology, and still keep reading. And that is how I know about these people's work and all that. And that is helping me a lot as a teacher at the fag end of my life. I wish new national education policy, have come to our country 20 years before, when I was an active teacher. Right.
Yes, sir. This was clearly evident from your lecture as well, that your knowledge of various subjects cutting across disciplines.
It's not knowledge, but I have a wide range of exposure.
Yes.
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
I wanted to introduce Aprotim Nag. He was also in ISSP. When you were there, he was also a scholar of ISSP.
What about it?
Hi. He was in.
You were with Bailum or Dr. Devanti Sandhya?
GC Das, Dr. GC Das, and Aprotim Nag was also there.
Oh, great. So meeting after a long time then.
Yes, sir. Even to now also, myself and Karabi, we are still working together.
Acha. Good. So nice. Yes, Lobo kiwa kowa niki?
Yes, sir. Now finally we are coming to the end of the.
Yes. Finally we are coming to an end. It is almost 6:30. People are tired. I think kiman manu baki ase ke moi nazanu aru. Kono ase ke nei?
নাই এই মাত্ৰ প্ৰিন্সিপাল ছাৰে ফোন কৰিছিলে তেওঁৰ মানে ইলেক্ট্ৰিচিটি প্ৰব্লেম হৈ গ'ল কলেজত তো তেওঁ মানে হেৰি কৰিব লগা হ'ল তেওঁ আপোনাক জনাব
There, Karabi.
ওকে
ঠিক আছে. Let us wind up.
Okay, sir. Okay.
ল'ব কিবা ক'ব অলপ
Okay, sir. Good evening, everyone, to the one and all present here. Honorable resource person, Professor Buragohain, sir, respected principal, sir, and vice principal, sir, and respected teachers, and all the participants. It is such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank you all dignitaries. On behalf of the Department of Mathematics and Statistics, Golaghat Commerce College, I would like to express my gratitude to all the esteemed delegates of the webinar for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. Firstly, I extend my gratitude to our honorable resource person, Professor Alak Buragohain, sir, to take out time from his busy schedule to grade the event. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your inspiring and encouraging us with your words. A special thanks to Dr. Utpal Sharma, principal of our college, and vice principal, sir, for providing immense support to make the webinar successful. I extend my gratitude to Dr. Karabi Devi, coordinator and head of the Department of Mathematics and Statistics, Golaghat Commerce College, to organize a webinar event amidst the pandemic situation. And I must thank the organizing team, IQAC coordinator Dr. Pranjapatin Dutta sir, and whole team for working hard for the first few days to make this webinar successful. And lastly, but not least, I extend my gratitude to our respected teachers and dear students, all the participants, and senior journalists Apurva Pallav Goswami sir for their active participation. And thank you so much, sir. And thank you once again. Thank you for making it a great success. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bhale থাকিব.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
ছাৰ মই আপোনাক পিছত ফোন কৰিম
হ'ব প্লিজ এনি টাইম।
ছাৰ
লবক দেখি ভাল লাগিলে বহুত দিনৰ মূৰত।
হয় স্যার আমি রিসার্চ স্কলার মনে